Malvern Hills and Wychavon district councils have got a commitment to strong and resilient and sustainable communities. What we're looking to do is embed asset-based community development, which is an adoption of a person and community-centred approach. During COVID, we've seen so much work within the communities, and we want to enhance that and carry on with the good work. What we're looking to do is change the relationship between the council and the community, look at what's working and what's right rather than what's wrong, and give support to local people to change things in their own communities and work with us to make them more sustainable.
Wychavon has a really strong community base, and we've seen this throughout the pandemic. The COVID-19 crisis has been cruel, it's been unforgiving. We've all known people that have been affected or perhaps lost loved ones. But the real strength of our response has been through our strong, resilient and sustainable communities. And at the core of that are residents living in the community, people just like you, supported by businesses, supported by the district council and supported by volunteer efforts. And as we move forwards, we want to capitalise on that strong community base that we've seen. We want to actively encourage communities to get together, to actively, through the strength of their networks, support our communities even further, but with the district council supporting you. And asset-based community development, sometimes known as ABCD, is about leveraging that people capital that exists within our community. And asset-based community development has a real sort of fundamental role in allowing us to change the nature of the relationship between the council and its residents and how we deliver for the community by focusing on what's strong rather than focusing on what's wrong. There's so many strengths that exist, and for me, one of the great pleasures of being a councillor and particularly being the leader of the council is seeing all of the good stuff that takes place in the community. Much of that goes unsung and is hidden in plain sight. What we want to do as a district council is to give community groups, residents and voluntary organisations the tools and the opportunities to capitalise on strengthening the networks that exist already, to work closely with one another, to work closely with the district council, to be supported as one community of friends, neighbours and partners, to bring about the change that we want to see in our community to make it even better as we navigate and move forwards into the post-COVID-19 landscape.
Community Fridge is a waste reduction project where we take food that's perfectly good for human consumption and we redistribute it back into our local community. So that can come from our local co-op who we initially set up with, so they give us food that has got to its use by date but it's perfectly edible, and also their fresh fruit and veg that's got to its display date. But we also now partner with our local spa, we partner with Morrison's, and we partner with some of the public houses and restaurants in town that they would like to give away free for the community. We kind of all got together and thought what would be a great thing to do for our community, and so that's what we came up with, so it's been going now for so that's over a year and a bit. So and in that time we've added a community freezer because that enables us to keep food better for longer, and we think we have at the year mark we have saved over 2 tonnes of food from going to landfill. The fridge and the freezer were supported, as I say, by our district councillors. They recognised that this was a really good project to get behind, and they enabled us to buy those. The church that I minister at, we pay for the electric, so it just gets plugged into one of our plugs. But we do find that people want to donate a little bit here and there for what they have from the fridge. It really isn't necessary, but for some people, they like to give back, and so we do have a little donations pot, but it's absolutely not necessary. It just sustains itself really, because the food comes in free, it goes out free, and it's not going to landfill, which is a great thing. Start small and see what happens, because we started just with our partnership with the local co-op, and we worked out what that meant and we worked out how we were going to do it. But it's been really successful. But we did start with just them. As I say, now we partner with Morrison's as well, so the quantity coming in is a lot greater. But we worked out what the need was on the ground first and made sure we got a good volunteer base so that we could make it happen.
Our side was started in 2004, where there was nowhere specifically for young people to go, nowhere safe, and it had been an issue in the community for decades. The only alternative for young people was hanging around the streets, and so we started to change that. Now, forwarding on, the services we offer are a dedicated youth centre in the Evesham Town Centre. We also do a lot of outreach work in schools, including pop-up youth clubs, sexual health awareness and substance abuse awareness as well. And we also have a strong online digital space where we create somewhere where young people can connect to each other. Our side went about tackling the issues by a group of young people telling anybody that would listen the story and what the problems were. And so over 4 years, we campaigned and spoke to everybody, and then was able to open up a youth centre in the town. To bring that to life, our side worked with the council to bring about a refurbished building, bring it back to life and open it in the centre of Evesham. So our main income generation for our side is through grant funding. We work with funders on an impact and an outcome-based model to support young people on project basis, and that's how we mainly have our income. Okay. So within our side, we strive to empower the young people to develop self-confidence and self-awareness and grow as individuals. And that's what is the ethos. Everything is youth-led. What we do, it's a partnership with young people. We never assume the needs of young people and what they need. It should always come from them. And I think that's the most important thing about this asset-based approach, is understanding that the services that we offer can constantly evolve with the challenges that young people face today, so that they can then become positive members of the community and develop as individuals and bringing about a future that they wish for.
Malvern Town Football Club came into existence a long time ago, 1946. In 2013, Chris Binder took over the club with 4 key pillars that he wanted to abide by, which was community, pride, development and enjoyment. What we're creating now, which is the community support to the club, where we will be working in partnership with different organisations across the town. We've got some really good groups like the Malvern group, like the PCP group, which is good for information sharing. We're looking to try and build like women's football teams, super vets football team, a veterans football team, a walking football team. And we want to bring education here eventually. What we were looking at is to try and bring maybe an academy into action at Malvern Town Football Club, so that the local people in the community can come take on the education and hopefully improve their confidence and make them more employable. We do have some antisocial behaviours that go on. We do have unemployment. We do see alcohol and drugs misuse. So there are some challenges that are in the community, and the more the community can come together, the stronger we can help to deal with those types of situations, and the stronger the community is at the end of it. So we owe some thanks really to sponsors, local sponsors who've really wanted to come and get involved with the football club, because they've seen that we've got a different vision. We've got memberships that our fans take up, and to be fair, we get over 200 to each home game. And you know, that brings in a steady income each time they come, and when the bar's open, you can imagine that would give a good income to the bar as well. The more belonging there is to a community asset like Malvern Town, the better the feeling is. And I've noticed it over the years. We've got so much to be proud of, and we've got so many people who want to be a part of it, and it's just motivating everyone really.
After the 2007 flood, we realised that it was necessary to do something to try and protect us, or those that got flooded going forwards. There's nothing worse than having a wet, damp house. The house then takes months to dry out. You end up with builders in to repair it. You're throwing out all your damaged possessions. You've got to deal with insurance companies, and builders eventually. It has a huge impact on health. There's the risks of both the E. coli from the dirty water, as well as mental health, and that is one of the worst things about flooding. The main aim of the flood group is to try and reduce the risk from future floods. Every time it rains hard, people are worried about getting flooded again, and that has a huge mental impact on people. We can only do what we can, but every little helps. But we're also planning for the longer term going forwards. We can achieve more through partnerships, working with other bodies, the Environment Agency, Worcester County Council, Wychavon District Council, the Parish Council, local landowners and farmers. We try to be cooperative and work together. We can assist organisations also by sharing information, drafting documents, providing support and giving encouragement. At the end of the day, it all comes down to working together.
Temporary Transport Trust was set up around about 2014 because there was a growing need for both car transport, car passenger transport, and also bus routes. We have a couple of main bus routes through the town, but obviously because we're a mainly rural area, the outlying villages needed to be brought into Tenbury town. I think the positive thing, and all CT schemes would say the same, is that you personally get a great kick out of helping people and supporting them. And although we're here as Temporary Transport Trust, our mission really is to maintain independence, to keep the social gatherings going. Obviously with COVID that's a little bit difficult, but up until then it was to bring people into the town who have no transport or have no way of getting into the town, and maintaining the friendships that they've had probably over 70 years. Well, Temporary Transport Trust, like all charities, is always in need of money, always in need of donations, that goes without saying. The upkeep of the buses, the upkeep of our office and our staff. We only have one paid member of staff. Everybody else is a volunteer, but we're very lucky because we're so well thought of in and around the area. We do get donations. I think researching what you want to do is the most important thing, to make sure you do actually have an audience or a customer base. Depending on what the charity is, it's important to get your councils on board. You also need to look out for some good funders. Whatever big organisations you've got in your area that would look to support you. But research is key, really. You really need to know why you're doing it and who you're doing it for and how much it's going to cost.
I'm the Community Outreach Manager for a charity called Caring Hands in the Vale, which is based at the Vale of Evesham Christian Centre in Evesham. There was a need in our community that we could see, and at that time it was about poverty and need. So that was looking at ways of how we could support individuals and families in our local community. If you compare January now to January last year, we're operating on a 100% increase in referrals, which obviously is a huge increase. So, and initially when we went into the first period of lockdown, March and April last year, we went up by 80%. So you can see this time it's gone up even more to what it did last year. So that in itself provides challenges in stock levels and keeping the resources available to meet the need, but we have such a generous community. We're okay at the moment, I think. However, we have received some grants from different of COVID relief funds, so we've been very blessed there. But also our local community has been astoundingly generous. During the beginning of lockdown, I did have a lot of phone calls from people who were wanting to set up little projects in their own village and stuff, and just sort of chatted through with me what advice I might have for them and answer any questions they might have. So it was great to be able to share the knowledge that I have, but I think sometimes you need to check what's going on in your community anyway, what's out there already, and at times you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but at times you can work together with organisations and support. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the huge amount of support that surrounds us.
Adopt a Street scheme was set up late 2019, and it was set up because we, as the Community and Environmental Protection team, get lots of reports about all sorts of environmental crimes, litter being one. And people were reporting that litter was all over their local community and that they wanted to do something about it themselves. And they said to us, if we had the tools to do the job, we would pick it up. So Adopt a Street was born. When we first started it, we had a very small flow of people coming in. We were about 30 Adopt a Street volunteers, And since March, we're now at 256 and 30 organisations have signed up. So since lockdown, people have been going out and about, spending more time in their local area and seeing the issue and wanting to do something about it and signing up. So yeah, we've been absolutely inundated since the whole lockdown situation. The main challenge was trying to find the funding to buy the equipment. So we give each person a litter picker, a high vis, a pair of gloves and a roll of sacks. And it was, how do we fund that? And luckily for us, we had the support of my service managers and funded it for the first sort of 12 months. And hopefully going forward, we'll have a budget to buy equipment. The plans going forward that we have for Adopt a Street is obviously, one, to recruit more people and get more groups involved and make sure that the whole of the district is covered by at least 1 or 2 volunteers, so that the whole of the district has a volunteer in it. We also, when it's safe to do so, we'd like to join all of our Adopt a Street volunteers up together to do group litter picks. As a community, those people can get together, work together to clear an area.
Droitwich CVS was set up in the 80s. It was set up to help people in the community. They had community transport, volunteering, and they had a bun run from here, sandwiches and hot food. I've been here 11 years. We have lots of different projects that are community led. We room hire for all the community groups, and there are 5 staff and about 40 volunteers at the moment. A lot of the challenges that the community face historically have been, they're quite isolated, so it's a rural town. So a lot of them are, elderly people that have been there all their lives. So community transport works well for those. We do a lot of work with the families and the young parents, maths and English, confidence building, well-being. We have our well-being packs that we're just doing at the moment that's come in since COVID, just to give people a bit of a lift. All the school children that are being homeschooled, there was a lot of families that hadn't got enough IT equipment. We're a collection point for those. Then they get donated to the schools and then they get sent to the relevant families that need them. Droitwich CVS in normal times income generates and covers its own costs. With COVID hitting, we lost 90% of our income streams from room hire, the community transport and the different projects and contracts we had. So since last March, we've had to go out and obtain grants. Luckily, the councils have been very generous. We've had lottery grants, government grants, small pots of local grants, and we've done a Space Hive crowdfunding page through the councils as well, and that generated a lot. Since lockdown, we were really lucky that we were inundated with offers of help from people in the community. The majority of them we'd never worked with before. It was people that had been furloughed or made redundant, just wanted to help in the community, and it was fantastic to see how the community pulled together and just wanted to help and support each other.
It's a very scattered village. We are the sort of foothills of the Malvern Hills. It is a delightful place to live, but it is very scattered. It's just hamlets and farms. So the Subtly Good Neighbour scheme was a natural hub that would hopefully bring people together in different ways.
It was difficult getting people to know about the Subtly Good Neighbourhood scheme. So the post office in Subtly were very good at putting a link to us on their website, but we also felt that there was a big populace potentially that wouldn't have access to the internet. So we did a mail out to everybody in the village. It's there, it's like a security blanket for the villagers of all generations. They know it's there. Changing a light bulb, changing televisions when we went from analogue to digital. Lost pets, that's another thing that we've been called up to try and track down.
To begin with, there were a few setup costs because volunteers needed to have their security checking, their DBS check, and minimal expenses, but there were some. So the parish council came up with that. And then more recently, it was time we produced another village information pack. So here we've got one that we've just produced, If one needs a lot of money, say you're needing to restore a building or buy an equipment or something, then it definitely helps to have a charity number. We haven't needed a bank account up until now because so little money has either come in or gone out.
Every single community will have different needs and different ways of responding to those needs.
So in 2018 we became aware that there was a government scheme bringing refugees over from Syria, and we'd heard about one or two groups in Worcestershire who'd already done that, and we felt that we'd like to do that in Evesham. We felt we ought to do our bit, and we got a group together which we named the Evesham Vale Welcomes Refugees, and then we worked with other groups to find out what we'd need to know and what it would involve. So to begin with, we discovered that the first thing you need to do is to find accommodation for refugees, because it depends on your local authority on how willing they are to provide social housing. But the problem with private landlords, they charge slightly more than the council. And so some of them didn't want to drop their fees, and other ones who were willing were good landlords, and so they had people in, they didn't have vacancies. So we were a little bit stuck for a while, but the housing officer then got changed in Wychavon, and the new housing officer said, yes, we need to do our bit, we need to have some refugees in this town, and he arranged for two houses to become available for families. Basically, we have to rely on donations, certainly to begin with. Now, there are quite a lot of groups within Evesham who are really quite welcoming and happy to donate generously to start with. And there have been one or two grant opportunities which I've come across through Tesco's Banfield Fund and a local authority one as well. Well, we are with those two families who have really settled in quite well, but there's still got a way to go. Our ultimate aim of the group is to help these people to settle into our society and become independent.
In Welland, we're lucky. We have lots of small organisations that many use the village hall. There are rambling groups, there's bowling groups, there's dance groups. We have a very active preschool and a very active junior football club, and they were both looking to expand. The football club were looking to put a wooden pavilion on the playing fields, and the preschool were looking to make an extension to the village hall. And we all got together and we realised that we could get grant funding to build a purpose-built building, brick-built building, that the football club could use as a sports pavilion and the preschool could use as a daily school. And we got grant funding, and they've gone from strength to strength, both the preschool and the football club. So that's a great example of two groups coming together and working with a common aim. We have recently started, I think it was the end of 2018, working with a company called Live and Local, who will provide bands, acts at very good rates, and we are working with them. We have about 4 or 5 events every year. Obviously, the last year has been a little bit difficult because of lockdowns, but we've managed to put some events on, some in the local church, and more recently we've put them in the village hall when we needed a little bit more space for social distancing, and it's been a great success. Definitely go to the parish council. They have the ability to liaise with district and county councils. They have the ability to put organisations on the path to get grant funding. They will often have community newsletters. We put out 6 newsletters every year. So we're quite happy to do that and to support their endeavours. So yeah, contact your parish council.
We're a charity just established, really. We established in 2018. We work with schools primarily in music education, so we do a lot of music work. We work with the County Council on Arts Development, and we also have a festivals arm, which is part of a national project to regenerate the arches in Worcester.
Back in 2019, there was an opportunity for us to work with Arts Council and Space Hive for a crowdfunding platform, put in applications for a project that was going to bring music making to more children and young people across Worcestershire. And we know from our own engagement data that there are pockets, there are gaps where we don't reach young people, and that actually taking music out to where people are is a really good way to engage. So this was the reason why we thought about the Music Box project in the first place.
We were looking for something that would raise our profile as well, so raise the profile for the charity and also be eye-catching, and something like a music bus was quite attractive and appealing to a wide variety of people. We wanted to see what communities wanted as well and what young people were looking to achieve from their own music making.
So the fundraising campaign itself, we'd never done crowdfunding before as an organisation. It was new to us. We learned a lot from it, but also we made some great connections with other community organisations and other providers whilst we were going along the journey.
The main challenge is obviously getting out to communities and getting their interest and understanding what different communities want. Arts and music is not always high on the priority, but it's something that brings joy and opportunity for young people to engage in creativity, really. So we were trying to get out to the places that we don't normally work in, and also to offer a sort of taster of what could be possible in terms of learning music, but also technology, composition, digital access, that kind of thing.
Fladbury Neighbourhood Watch was re-established 2.5 years ago with the aim of making it a flagship scheme for other villages within Wychavon to follow. That's been very successful, with an additional 7 villages now on board. It's all about security in depth. The key solutions were getting the village community to act as the eyes of the ears for the local police and collectively support each other via phone or social media re any criminal activity, such as online scams, Nottingham knockers, or county drug lines. Quite simply, prevention is better than cure. I was actually informed by Neighbourhood Watch that we had the most proactive membership within West Mercia. If you're looking to set up a local support organisation, the first thing you need to do is to write out a plan of action. Establish your objectives. What do you want to achieve? What financial support do you require? Is there support locally available through Wychavon District Council? Talk to friends, seek advice where you can get best support in establishing your organisation.
The Cubes actually had a really long history of having youth provision there. It was originally set up as actually a youth club, but it was taken over by the community, bought by the community and run. So there's lots of activities that go on there now. It's sort of intergenerational, but we run the youth arm of it. And it's been set up really to just provide safe spaces for young people, provide somewhere where they can have relationships with trusted adults, provide somewhere where they can learn new skills, meet new people, they can socialise safely. I think young people in any community face quite a lot of challenges because they're under a lot of pressure. I think in terms of responding to challenges, it's probably best to listen to what the young people say, because we have our opinions as adults as to what issues they're facing, but actually they're the ones that are facing them. So we've developed various ways that they can feed back to us. We've got an Instagram account so they can quickly type in what they're facing. We've got a youth forum, which means that once a month they meet, and they can, less so now because of the COVID restrictions, but they were meeting once a month face to face to tell us what they needed help with, what they needed support with. And they've also got a really good relationship with our youth workers. So if they have anything that comes up during a session or anything they want to raise, then they're able to feed back through that. We're very lucky in that we've just received, starting last September, we received a lottery grant which will take us forward over the next 5 years. And we're receiving Worcestershire Children's First money to carry out projects. So the lottery funding covers our core funding, and the Worcestershire Children's First money will cover projects. Ask the community what they want first, would be my main piece of advice. Look for funding sources. There's an awful lot out there. You've got to have people that are friendly and approachable and down to earth. So it is a lot to do with the personalities that are making the contacts within the communities.
The Octagon Centre has been in our community since 1995, and basically it's operated like a village hall, so people have come in and hired out our centre, but it wasn't really meeting the needs of the community, because we didn't really know what the needs of the community were. So in 2018 we undertook a community consultation. We consulted with local people and with other local organisations. We came up with a consultation report and with a development plan. So from that we found out, people told us that the best things about the community were its friendliness, and that the worst things were crime and antisocial behaviour. The main challenges were debt and unemployment and disadvantaged young people and children. They wanted the priorities for our service to be activities for young people and social events. So we'd only been working on that for a short time, on implementing those things before COVID happened, and that brought up a whole new raft of issues which were mostly related to food poverty, which we'd not seen before to that extent. We raised money to run the building by hiring our centre out, and that brings in usually about enough revenue to cover the bills and the overheads. To run our project, we raised funds from charitable donations, so either from grants or from other small trusts giving us money. So we're actually really excited to relaunch our Thursday project whenever we're able to do that safely. And we really want that to be a hub for our community to be able to come to and to develop skills and meet people who can help them increase their resilience and basically bounce back from COVID well.